Perfect. So a very warm welcome to everybody joining us for this Postgraduate Open Days session. My name's Dawn. I work in the Cambridge Admissions Office and I'm here to host the session today. Today's session is all about the MPhil in Public Policy from the Bennett School of Public Policy. We've got about 45 minutes with you this morning, and the format of the session will be, the first half will be a presentation and the second half will be time for you to ask your questions in the Q&A session. If you do have any questions for us, you can type them into the Zoom Q&A box. And the upvote feature is also enabled. So if you see a question that you also want to know the answer to, please do upvote it, and then that will allow us to prioritize the most popular topics that you want to hear about. The session is also being recorded, so if you want to come back and recap any content, or if you need to drop out for whatever reason partway through, the recording will be available to you shortly after the session, and we'll send you an email about that afterwards. So I will see you again for the Q&A, and right now I will pass over to my colleague to introduce himself and get started with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I am Alessio Terzi. I am an assistant professor in public policy at the University of Cambridge, and I'm the director of the MPhil in public policy. So I will be the one introducing briefly the MPP, as we call it, around here, and I'll try to keep it brief because I really want to try and get to as many questions as possible. I get a lot of these in my mailbox or in my LinkedIn direct messages. I often cannot reply to those, and so I am here. So take advantage of this opportunity to ask all of your questions. I am also just to mention that I'm using two screens, so that is why I'm looking sometimes in the top left corner, sometimes at the camera. So the Master in Public Policy is our flagship program. It's a program that has been ongoing for over 12 years now. Now the Bennett School is relatively recent establishment at the University of Cambridge, but the Master in Public Policy we have inherited, and it is a long-standing program, a successful program. And what it intends to do is really to train people in the practice of public policy, which means, yes, of course, many of our students want to work for governments, but it is not only for people who want to work in government. It can be private sector. It can, obviously, private sector with an interest in the activities of the public, and NGOs as well, charitable organizations. So it's really a broad program when we look at the outcomes and where our alumni work. And what we try to do is to give students an appreciation of the political, legal, and governance context in which policymaking takes place. We try to train them at dissecting evidence, understanding what evidence is important, when it is needed to seek advice from experts, and what is good evidence to use in public policy. And so all in all, what you should aim to get out of this program is the ability to think carefully about evidence, use evidence to design, analyze, and implement policy. Now, the current context, of course, is one of, at the global level, is one of disruptive technologies that are being rolled out. There is increasingly a disenchanted public towards politics or policy. We live in an environment where conflictual policy making seems to be increasingly the norm rather than collaboration, and crucially, in many jurisdictions, it seems that people are and policymakers are doing policy because of ideology rather than driven by evidence. We are trying to contrast that, or in a way, our belief is that we're trying to train a different category or class of policymakers that have an ethos of public value. And you will see in a second, there is one module that is on ethics, because we think that this is really important for anybody who wants to work in public policy. We remained solidly anchored in evidence. This is in part, we work in the tradition of the University of Cambridge. We do believe in the scientific method. We do believe that evidence is important, that facts-based approach to policy making is important. So we stay the course on this. We are not oblivious to the importance of politics. So this is not a master in politics, this is a master in public policy, but we cannot just train people who identify the ideal policy outcome without realizing that politics will matter in implementing it. And so we try to give our students an understanding of the political forces at play, so that were you to find later on in life, to find yourself in a positions of policy making, you know how to map interest groups, understand how to get things approved and implemented. And crucially, we do believe in the importance of science and technology that has to, however, be governed in the interest of society. So these are a bit key principles, core principles of that will appear throughout the course. The course has some core components. There are 5 modules that are, let's say, standard courses. There is an introduction to policy analysis. There is an introduction to economics for public policy, so very practical. It is not a course of like theoretical economics, but rather using examples from public policy to see the importance of economics. There is a course on, let's say, an introduction to statistics and econometrics or data analysis. Again, based on the fact that as a policymaker, you might not need to be the one running, complex data analysis yourselves, but you will be fed some of these analyses, and we want you to be able to dissect what is good and what is not, what is good evidence, or ask the right questions on the assumptions that you receive. There will be a course on politics and policy, as I was saying just one moment ago. And there is a key course that is called Science, Evidence and Policy that really makes our program stand out with respect to other masters in public policy in competitor universities, because for us it's a core course, and it goes to the heart of what I was saying, that we are anchored in the STEM strength of the University of Cambridge, and we do leverage that or we anchor our master in public policy into that strength. On top of these more canonical courses, there are what we call case studies, and case studies are taught by practitioners. So we bring in practitioners from the world that come with a policy problem, often a problem that they have faced within their own career, and they present it to students, and then the week after, students get an opportunity to present potential solutions to that problem. Sometimes we do simulations, for example, of a cabinet meeting of the prime minister to see the dynamics of how you get policymaking going. So it is a more interactive part of our master in public policy. And then finally, there is an independent research paper or dissertation at the end that is more of an independent module, as the title says, for students to work on. On top of this, there are what we call professional skills or professional development, and these are key skills, key strengths that we consider are necessary for policy making. One of them I was hinting at is this ethics and public policy, that is a crucial module of this course. And then there is something more practical, like learning how to write policy memos, learning how to present in a policy context, and things like this. And then we have something on negotiations. All of these professional development courses are not assessed, but they are still a compulsory component of the Master in Public Policy. And then finally, to really go to the heart of the fact that this is a master's, that is a professional master's, there is a policy analysis exercise. Now, what this policy analysis exercise is in practice is that at the end of the program, what we do is that we partner with an institution, and past institutions have included the OECD, the World Health Organizations, the World Bank, the UN. So we partner with one of these institutions, we bring them in, and we ask our MPP students to work on a problem that these institutions have for real. And so to present solutions to a policy problem, effectively leveraging what they have learned throughout the course. This is a team-based exercise, and so students get divided in groups, and they all try to attack the same problem from different perspectives, and then they present to the organization. So the let's say the final ranking of the best presentation is done by us professors on the course, but also by representatives of these organizations. So this is really a hands-on module that allows students to put in practice what they have learned throughout the course. Now, in terms of course entry requirements, some are standard requirements of postgraduate studies at the University of Cambridge. So there is a requirement of a degree of excellence in previous studies, of academic excellence. There is a hard requirement on English proficiency that has to be demonstrated through certificates. But one point that is important to stress for me is that this is a master's for people that have some work experience. What we say is that we don't consider it a mid-career master's, so it's not that you need 10 years of work experience. We're looking at something shorter, but rather early career professionals. And what this means is that most of our students have at least 2 years of work experience when they enter the degree. And so yeah, this is something that you might want to keep in mind. It is, in a way, it benefits the cohort as a whole. And so it means that were you to join our program, you would not be learning only from your professors, but also from your peers that have work experience on the ground from all streams of life, from all countries in the world. And so there is a learning experience to the program that is peer learning and sharing. And crucially, I often get this question: must I have previous experience in public policy? And the answer is no, in the sense that you can have these 2, 3, 4 years of work experience. You can have accrued them in the private sector as well. But what we look for, and that is really important, is that you show that you want to make a positive impact on public policy, and so that you have an interest in public policy itself, even if your background is in another subject or in another sector, that you're trying to transition or you have a keen interest in public policy. You can find more information on this course, obviously, on our webpage of the Bennett School. And I thank you for listening, and I look forward to our conversation and your questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll just highlight to everyone that there is it's gone now. We'll come back to the email address just at the end of the session for any kind of follow-up questions that you might have. Thank you so much for that overview. That was really great listening to. And thanks also to those of you who have already sent in your questions. Just a reminder that if you do have questions, as we said, use this as your opportunity to ask them, and you can paste them in the Q&A box here in Zoom. So my first question for you is, given that you say it isn't a mid-career master's, do you not recommend this program is for individuals who are mid-career?
Yes, as in beyond a certain point of work experience, we would not recommend taking this program. We usually take as a parameter, again, this is not set in stone, but as a guiding principle, normally if you have more than 8 years of work experience, we would definitely not recommend taking this program. There are other programs that are mid-career focused, but anything between 2 and 8 years is usually the perfect spot for this program. Of course, you can still apply, and in certain occasions we have made exceptions if really there is an exception to be made, if there are some specific circumstances for people who have slightly less work experience or for people who have slightly more. But as a guiding rule, as a guiding principle, unless there are very specific circumstances, this is the bracket.
That's great, thank you. We've had sort of a follow-up question to that, and we might need to refocus it slightly. So the question was, what percentage of mid-career professionals enroll each year in the program? But maybe do you have a sense of how many people are at sort of the lower end of the work experience or towards the higher end?
I don't have, I don't have the data of the, let's say, the full distribution of work experience. I can say that more or less the students, if I think of the cohort that we have right now, more or less they usually have 3, 4, 5 years of work experience. So that is usually where most of the bracket is concentrated. But again, if you fall within what I was saying, so between these 2 and 8 years, it's perfectly fine. If you fall without, you can still apply, so nothing is going to prevent you from applying. But just to know that there should be something particular in your profile that makes us consider your application.
Perfect, thank you. Next question, how important is the GPA requirement in the selection process? Asking as a professional changing from social impact program implementation to policy making.
The GPA is important. So obviously, an academic excellence. Academic excellence is one of the things we're looking for, but it's not the only thing that we're looking for, and that is important to stress. So if you do fulfill the requirements that are mentioned in terms of of program requirements, do apply because we consider that, but we consider other things. We consider the professional experience that you have, and we value that a lot. And so we look at that. We look at your motivation. We look at your trajectory. So you'll be talking about trying to explain in your motivation when applying of what you want to do with the Master in Public Policy, and that is important for us as well. So there is a host of things that we consider, and so you should not, if you do fulfill the basic requirements, I would encourage people to apply because we take a holistic perspective when selecting students.
Thank you. My next question, which you may not have the answer to, is what is the average age within the cohorts? I wonder if maybe we could broaden it out to how sort of diverse are your cohorts of students?
I have we have just crunched the numbers. I didn't bring them with me, so I'm gonna have to go with memory. But I think the average age is around 26 or something like that. And in terms of diversity, the diversity is immense. So if I'm thinking of countries, I think that we have 20 countries represented in a program that is around 40 students. So that is quite diverse cohort. We have all sorts of backgrounds. And this is important to stress again. Don't think that you must have studied public policy, you must have studied economics or politics. Not at all. We have several students with STEM backgrounds. We have biotechnology, medicine backgrounds, engineering backgrounds. We have obviously also the social sciences. We have politics background, public policy, economics. So we really have a very diverse history. we really have a very diverse cohort, which I think is really one of the strengths of this program, because it makes for a great learning experience for us as well. So you will see, if you will join this our cohort, that our students raise their hands and contribute to the classroom discussion by giving examples from the previous work life. And so we are perhaps introducing a concept in the theory as a professor, and then a student will raise their hand and say, okay, I was working in Pakistan. This is my experience when I was in government. And somebody else, I was working in Colombia, and this is my experience while I was working in journalism, or something like that. So it is it's a very it's a shared learning experience. It is not the professor speaks and you listen. This is not what we're doing here.
Thank you. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes you see applicants make in their applications?
This is a tricky one. I don't know. They make
Big
all sorts
question.
of mistakes. I would say not focusing. One really that is a no-go, so please pay attention to this, is we understand that you will be applying often to multiple places, and it makes sense. This is a competitive program. I cannot expect that you put all your eggs in one basket. That is perfectly fine. Actually, in the application process, we acknowledge this, and we ask if you are applying in other places. We want to have an idea of whether you're applying in other places, but double, triple check your applications. You have no idea how many times I receive applications that say, yeah, I really would like to join the University of Pittsburgh. And so, do check, do read through your applications, make sure that it is targeted to the Master in Public Policy. Do study our program and what the structure is and what the courses are. So really try to target your application. So one of the common mistakes we get is that we receive very generic applications that say, I want to do a master in public policy, but it's not explaining why ours, why in Cambridge, why the professors that are on the faculty, like trying to really show an alignment between your interests and what we are offering here. Um, Grammar mistakes, so like very basic typos. I mean, it's not obviously fatal, but really it shows that you've paid attention and that you care about this application. So it is important that you show that you have done your homework properly and that you care about this program. So that's something I would invite you to consider when drafting your application. Um, And then, I mean, I'm sort of reiterating what I was saying, but do keep in the public policy focus in mind. So do try to think about what your place is in the world with respect to public policy. How does your past experience matter for public policy? Why are you wanting to do a master's right now? And again, this is a section that we have in terms of career trajectory. So we explicitly ask students, what do you envision yourself doing in the future? Yeah, you can state, I want to be the president of my country. That is fine, but link it in a way, build a story of how what you know, what you will be learning with us, and what you'll be doing in the future will lead you to become the president of the universe. That is fine to state, and we are all for ambition, so there is no problem with that. But build a storyline, don't just state big things for the sake of it.
That's really helpful. Thank you. The next question is kind of the flip side of that one, but with a bit more focus. So you may have already covered some of this. What makes a strong application? And specifically, would it include research experience or internship experience?
So this is an important one, because you will see if you open our application portal that there is a section where we ask explicitly about research experience. Um, it's not it's not compulsory. So it's a section that we have. It's a guiding tool for us, but it's not even compulsory, which already suggests that this is not where we discriminate candidates. So we encourage you to fill it in if you can, if you want, both on research focus, on topics that you're interested in writing about, potentially your dissertation. But this is, it's not binding, so you can write something and you end up writing your dissertation on something else. It's not compulsory, so you don't have to fill in this section. Uh, but in general, there is we're sort of trying to do two things, because on the one side we're looking for people who are practice oriented, so people who are doers, that want to go, they have work experience, they want to go back in the world to change public policy. So that's perfectly fine. At the same time, you will be writing a dissertation, and so there is a degree of independence of thought that we're looking for, and the evidence that you're capable of doing on your own, because this is an independent research paper that you will be writing. You will be, of course, accompanied by a supervisor, so we're not, dropping you in the water and telling you to learn how to swim on your own, but there should be some evidence that you're capable of doing some analysis on your own. But in general, I would say this is a practical policy program. We acknowledge this, so it's not so much about research focus, and it's more about the practice of public policy. We do get students that still want to do stronger research, that have a stronger research focus. That is fine. So some of our students want to pursue PhDs. It happens all the years, and so that is perfectly fine. But it's not the bulk of our program. The bulk of our program is for practitioners that want to remain in the practice of public policy. I'm trying to think if there are other tips I can give you in terms of application. One of the let's say, elements that we consider as part of your application is a writing sample. And please pay attention to this writing sample. It might look like, we just want to check that you know how to write in English or something like that. We actually care about, this is a bit the place where we see if you can structure your arguments, if you can build even in a basic form, in a short form, of course, but you have an analytical mindset in terms of thinking through policy problems. And so, don't just recycle something because you happen to have it. If it's not good enough, write a new piece specifically for this application, because we do pay attention to that.
Thank you. Now, you briefly mentioned their PhD programs, and we do have a couple of questions about that. So someone says that they're interested in pursuing PhD in public policy starting from 2027. Is the MPhil in public policy considered as a continuing course for the PhD?
So this is very important. So thanks for this question, because it allows me to state very clearly that we consider the MPP as preparatory for a PhD in public policy with us or with other institutions, but it does not give automatic access to the PhD. So you would, in any case, need to reapply for the PhD, even if you are in the MPP with us. And so this is definitely a path that you can pursue. So if the program is to do a PhD, you can do a master in public policy, but bear in mind that you will have to apply again independently as an external. So you will go through the exact same process as if you were applying externally for the PhD in public policy with the Bennett School.
Thank you. There's another question about the PhD program, and I know that's not the focus of this session, so help if you can. Someone's asking about the program commencing in 2027. Do you know when further information will be available about that, including a list of prospective supervisors?
I cannot
No, that's
comment
fine.
on this. I mean, we're working on it. As I was saying, the Bennett School is a relatively recent endeavor. We're starting a lot of new things, so it's an exciting time to be around. The Master in Public Policy, as I was saying, remains the flagship program, and a long-lasting program that has been around for over a decade. We are starting a new Master in Digital Policy, about which there will be a presentation by my colleague, Professor Diane Coyle, very shortly, so after this session. And then there is going to be the PhD program that will start in 2027. So we are starting a variety of new things. It's an exciting time to be around, but I don't have all the information just yet. perhaps one word on the Master in Digital Policy, just to prepare the link. And some of you, if you'll be joining the next session, you will hear it from Diane. In a way, what we consider is that the two programs are complementary. And so the Master in Public Policy at Cambridge prepares students for a variety of, to tackle a variety of the big issues of our times. And these can include geopolitics, can include climate change, can include social issues, can include gender issues, can include development, poverty alleviation, and so on. So we try to prepare policymakers to give you the tools and the skills to be an effective policymaker in the topic that is your own focus. So students arrive with typically already with their focus, and there are those that really want to work on housing, and those that really want to work on poverty alleviation, on development, and so on. And we give you the toolkits and the mental framework and the skills to be a better policymaker at pursuing a career and fighting the fight that you've picked. Within this realm, obviously a subset of our students want to work on digital issues. And you are welcome to still apply to the MPP, and you will be still welcome in the Master in Public Policy, but you will also have a home that is more specifically on digital policy, and so that will double down on the skills that we think an expert in public policy or a government official should have in order to reflect and act upon the big digital issues of our time. And so this is a bit how the two programs are complementary.
Thank you very much. I think this question is related to what we're talking about here. What do you think would be better for a master's or program focused on AI governance or public policy, the human-inspired AI program or the Bennett School?
I cannot, I mean, I don't do negative advertisement on other programs within Cambridge. But what I will say is that we do have students that are interested. Actually, a lot of our students are interested in this topic. AI is one of the key strengths of the Bennett School in terms of the professors that teach on the faculty. And so we have several students that do have a focus. I mean, it's also a sign of the times, because obviously AI is such an important topic. And so we train people for public policy. And if AI is a big topic in public policy, we get a lot of students that want to work on that. So I could definitely say that you would be welcome, and you would not be alone if you were to join the Bennett School, either within the Master in Public Policy or within the Master in Digital Policy. Digital policy even more so. But I'm sure that there are other programs as well that are very good in Cambridge and that have this as focus. So I cannot give a relative rank.
That's okay. You're definitely doing the right thing, whoever asked that question, in terms of researching all the courses. Do you know how many people apply for the course and how many are admitted?
I do, but I don't think we are sharing this data at the moment. What I will say is that it's a very competitive program. We have a very competitive rate, let's say, of admissions to applications. But that being said, that shouldn't discourage you from applying, because because you never know, and because I'm sure that you have strengths. If you do have the strengths that and the requirements that the program, the program has, do apply.
Perfect, thank you. This person says, if I've completed another master's degree in the UK, can the English language requirement be waived?
I do not know. So I would encourage you to email at the contact, so public policy at Bennett School. So at the email address of our administrator, you will find it on our website, and they will be able to reply to these specific application questions of convergence and what requirements can be waived in specific situations.
Perfect, thank you. We'll pop that email address up at the end, so you can note it down if you want to. The next question I have here, if you are applying while 1 year into a 2 year work contract, meaning you will have just finished 2 years when you start the MPP, does that meet the 2 year work experience requirement?
I would encourage you to apply. We have situations like this. So obviously you would be at a very lower bound, but as I said, this is not a requirement that is set in stone. So it's not that you go on the website and it will say you are not allowed to apply if you have less than 2 years. Of course, you're going to be towards the lower end of people with work experience, but there are cases in which we consider that the work that your academic excellence is there, and that the work experience that you will have, you are maturing in a very interesting place, and so that you will have a lot to contribute to the cohort. And so I do encourage you to apply under these circumstances.
That's great, thank you. And the next question says, if I graduated many years ago, would it be acceptable for my recommendation letter to come from a professional supervisor rather than an academic advisor?
So that's a very good question, and we get this a lot. So we do want one of the recommendation letters to be academic. So the ideal situation is that you have one academic and one professional letter. The less ideal is having two academic letters, uh, but having two professional letters is really not like we always want an academic professional letter. In a way, it sort of links to the work requirement, or let's say not excessive length of work requirement that we had in mind as a guiding principle. As in, if you have been 8 years into work, of course, we understand that you no longer have relations to a university, or that your academic supervisor has long forgotten you. But to an extent, that is also why that should give you a sense that you're probably towards the mid-career direction rather than this type of program. Um, so yes, we do stress that we want an academic reference letter.
Brilliant, thank you. For the written work submission, are you looking more specifically at policy related work, or do you accept academic papers from other disciplines? Is there an advantage to writing a new policy focused paper for the application? Does the sample of work have to be on a current problem, or can it be from a few years ago if you have a strong piece of work, for example, that was written for a previous course at another university?
Yeah, it's fine. So things that you have written for a previous course in university are perfectly fine. If you have a paper about COVID, it's perfectly fine. It's not that we discriminate that it has to be on the issue of the moment. I would discourage you from using, I don't remember the exact phrasing you used, but I would discourage you from using a paper from another discipline, in the sense that probably is not targeted towards public policy considerations. So we want whatever you write to show us that you can think in public policy terms, and so that you have this analytical mindset with policy in mind. If you just submit a paper that looks at the structure of the cell, that doesn't really tell us much. It's going to tell us that, okay, you know about the cell and you know how to write in English, but that is not what we're trying to assess here. We're trying to assess something else, which is to see your logic and how you approach problems from a policy angle. So if you do not have one of these papers at hand, write another one. We're not asking for a dissertation. We're asking for something that is a few pages long. So it's something that if you really care about this application, I would encourage you to take some time to do it.
Perfect, thank you. We've got just 5 minutes left for the end of the session, so we'll try and get through a few more questions in the time that we have. Um, my next question here is, for the 2 year minimum experience requirement, can you spend 1 year volunteering in different places and another at a company?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the professional work experience is a loose requirement that says we want you out of university and doing things that are interesting for public policy. Then you can be doing volunteering work that is perfectly fine, and we consider that as a professional work experience, in the fact that you are maturing and gaining experience that would be helpful to hear about in class. So it would give you a voice that is interesting for us as professors, but also for your course classmates to listen to and to hear your stories. I really cannot stress more this, you know, joint learning experience. And just to give you an interesting fact about this, we have, and you will see on the website, that there is what we call the MPP forum, is one of the activities that is organized as part of the Master in Public Policy. This is something that students organize. So it's self-organized by students, and this is time that students can organize for themselves, among themselves. We are not there. So it is a space that they use, and they use it productively because they're not just fresh out of undergrad, but because you would be joining a cohort of people, have work experience, know what they're doing, know the type of skills that they're trying to get out of this master in public policy, and so they have a degree of maturity that allows them to organize this course, this time among themselves, and often they present their own experience to each other. And so they deliver presentations about, I've worked in the aerospace and policy field for 3-4 years. Let me explain to you, the cohort, what the challenges were, what the skill set required is, and so on. So the shared learning is really important to us.
Thank you. Do you have a suggested timeline for preparing the application?
The suggested timeline is the sooner the better. It's something I have stated in other places as well, online as well. To everybody that asks me, I would say the sooner you apply, the better, because we have a rolling application window, which means we continue accepting applications until we fill in all the spaces. And so the sooner you apply, the better for you. And of course, bear in mind, very important, look at the scholarship deadlines. So, this is the general rule from my perspective, which is only from the department of the School of Public Policy. But you will be obviously interested in trying to secure a scholarship, and the scholarships have very clear deadlines. So try to be aware of the scholarships you're trying to get and work with those deadlines.
Often funding can be tied to the application as well. So don't wait to submit your application. Look at the funding deadlines and get your application in.
Exactly.
Next question. Is there any advice for research proposals? What if I can't find a potential supervisor who is 100% aligned with my interests?
That is perfectly fine. As I said, the research section is for guidance. So it's a guidance principle for us. We do not reject people based on that. We do not reject people because your interests are not aligned with the faculty. You will get a supervisor, so don't worry. You would have somebody within the Bennett School that assists you. And you would have access to the wider University of Cambridge, which is so wide that whatever your interest is, there will be somebody that is interested and is an expert in that field. So you are not going to be alone. Don't worry. And so I encourage you to apply, and don't shy away just because your research field is not one-to-one aligned with that of one of the faculty members. But do remember, I know I'm repeating myself, but remember to try and have a policy focus attached to your research field, which can be anything. It can be chemistry, it can be biotechnology, it can be space, it can be an engineering problem. But always think, okay, but what are the policy implications of this? We're not asking for people to write a research paper that could become just a journal article. We're trying to make you think as a policymaker and what the policy implications of the problem you're looking at are.
Perfect. That feels like a great final piece of advice to end on. Would you mind just sharing that final slide with the email address, please? So thank you to everybody who has joined us today, and thank you so much, Alessio, for your presentation and for answering everybody's questions. we did get a lot of questions, and so if we didn't get round to answering your specific one, or if you have something more specific to ask, the email address is shown there on the screen, publicpolicy@bennettschool.cam.ac.uk. If you're choosing to apply to this programme, we wish you lots of luck with your applications, and hopefully we'll see you in Cambridge sometime soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you very much, and good luck to everybody.